Recently, I booked an $11,000 business class flight on ANA from Honolulu to Tokyo for just $130. Well, okay, I used some points on top of that, but today I want to show you exactly what I did to find this deal so that way you could fly first or business class just like this as well. Of course, to fly business class for so cheap, you either gotta fly with Spirit Airlines or use credit card points. Actually, Spirit doesn't technically have a business class, so it looks like you're gonna have to use credit card points. That's why I will also show you in this video which points I used and will simplify the complicated process of sending credit card points to transfer partners and so on. So after watching this video, you'll have all of the tools you need to go out there and do this yourself. The hardest part will literally just to figure out when to go. And yeah, that's a little foreshadowing. But before we get started, I want to quickly say that I posted my experience on this exact flight that we'll be going over. I filmed all of the best parts, so either before or after watching this video, be sure to go watch that video and see what it was like on the flight itself. Now after that very short introduction, let's go into how to book the flight. The first step that I needed to figure out was what airlines was I going to take. The more popular airlines flying from the United States to Japan are United, ANA, Japan Airlines, Delta, Singapore Airlines, and even Zip Air, just to name a few. Those seem like a lot of options, but since we don't want to pay cash for this one-way flight, we have to narrow down that list and look at what airlines we could actually use credit card points on. But I'll just cut to the chase and say that out of every option out there, ANA is one of, if not the best airline to fly to Japan from the United States by using credit card points. And here's why. First, ANA was ranked the third best airline worldwide this year. So who wouldn't want to ride a top ranked airline? But secondly, we have to talk about transfer partners. And you might think that I'm tripping because ANA, well, they only really have two official transfer partners. If you're not familiar with transfer partners, basically most major credit card issuers like Amex, Chase, Citi, and Capital One have partnerships with select airlines and hotel brands. These partnerships allow you and me as customers to transfer your credit card points to a partnered airline mile or a partnered hotel point. Most of the time, you transfer your points at a 1-to-1 ratio. One credit card point for one airline mile or one hotel point. However, most of the time, not every credit card will allow you to transfer points to a travel partner like this. You usually have to own some sort of specific travel credit card from that credit card issuer or bank or company. With that said, as of right now, only Amex and Marriott are the only two loyalty programs that will allow you to transfer points directly to ANA. But I didn't use either of them. Marriott is no good. It's not a great transfer partner because I would have to transfer 3 Marriott points for every 1 ANA mile. That's a 3-to-1 ratio, which is not ideal. Going through American Express, I could transfer my Amex points at a 1-to-1 ratio. 1 Amex point for 1 ANA mile, which is good. But there's a reason why I didn't go through Amex as well. See, the thing is, ANA miles or booking ANA award travel directly through ANA is also not very ideal. Award travel or award flight is just a fancy term for using points to book a flight. First of all, ANA's website is kind of clunky, but more importantly, if you book an award flight directly through ANA, you have to book a round trip flight. And I didn't want to do that because that would not give me the most value for my credit card points. It definitely is convenient to book one round trip versus 2 one-way flights. So if you prefer convenience over efficiency, then by all means, transfer your Amex points to ANA and get a business class seat for free. There's nothing wrong with that. However, if you want to get the most bang for your buck out of your credit card points, we have to go a layer deeper. One way to do that is to book your award flight through a partnered airline of ANA. We're not talking a travel transfer partner like Amex or Marriott. Luckily for us, ANA and all these other airline companies or hotel chains and credit card companies believe in polygamy because they all have multiple partners. And one of those partnered airlines of ANA is United Airlines, which is yet another way to book an ANA business class flight. And the great thing about United is that they actually have a functioning website. However, if we take a look at the same $11,000 ANA business class flight, how many United miles would that cost? Just a quick reminder, when you are on United's website, you have to make sure that it says, quote unquote, operated by All Nippon Airways, aka ANA, or else it's going to be a United flight. Well, at this time, this same ANA flight would have been 90,400 United miles and $5.60 in taxes and fees. One way. 90,000 miles is subjectively quite a steep number of miles. However, if we break down the cents per point valuation, it does not seem nearly as bad. Assuming we did use 90,400 United miles or 90,400 credit card points, let's do the math real quick on how much value we would get from our points. You take the cost of the ticket paid in cash, or whatever it would have cost you if you paid in cash, so in this case $11,300, minus the cash value of the taxes and fees, which is $5.60. And you take all of that divided by the number of points that you would have to use, which is 90,400. You then get a 12 cents per point valuation. Calculating this cents per point valuation is just a down and dirty, simplified way to figure out the value for a certain point redemption. The higher the cent per point value, the better. At the bare minimum, you want at least a 1 cent per point value, but ideally, you should be hitting around 2 cents per point on your redemptions. So a 12 cent per point valuation is pretty solid. To be fair, I want to bring up now though that $11,000 for this flight or for this seat is actually pretty steep and out of the ordinary. It's like sky high expensive. I would say a normal price for this exact seat is probably going to be closer to around $2,000 to maybe $5,000. So now you can just see how inflated the prices were for some reason when I decided to book this flight. But even if this seat costs $2,000, which I'm just being conservative here, the cent per point valuation would be 2.2 cents per point. Again, not bad. Not nearly as jaw-dropping as 12 cents per point, but still above average. Keep in mind that the amount of miles for this seat can fluctuate depending on the season or even the flight. Now, what if I told you that there is still one more way to book an ANA business class flight using credit card points? Not just any points, but using Chase points. And on top of that, we will get a way better deal than just 2 cents per point. The key to this puzzle is Virgin Atlantic. Virgin Atlantic is honestly the real MVP of this transaction because not only can you use Virgin Atlantic points to book ANA award flights, but also because Virgin Atlantic is literally a partner with every major credit card issuer. Virgin is like that, one friend who just knows everyone because you could send your Amex points, your Chase points, Citi points, Capital One, Marriott, and Bilt points to Virgin Atlantic. Basically, Virgin Atlantic is like the glue or the middleman for this entire operation. The best part is that Virgin Atlantic charges a flat rate amount of points for ANA award travel, no matter the time of the year. And you can see that on this chart here on screen, which is showing you the round trip values for each available class along with the location you're flying from. So in my example, I flew from Hawaii in business class to Japan, so it's going to be 70,000 Virgin points for round trip or 35,000 points for one way, which is exactly what I did. However, the taxes and fees amounts will vary from time to time. It just so happened that I had to pay $135 at the time of purchase. Yes, I paid more in cash via fees going through Virgin as opposed to United, $135 in cash versus $5.60, but I was willing to save points as opposed to saving cash. Hence, I spent only 35,000 points versus 90,000 points, right? Although your situation may be different, so let's say you are willing to use more points because you want to save cash, then perhaps buying this ticket through United would have been the better option. Although you won't receive as great of a value for your points, and you'll see why. Because if we booked through Virgin, we would have a point valuation of 5.3 cents per point. 5.3 cents per point is cool on its own, but I used one more trick to squeeze just a little bit more value from my Chase points. At the time, luckily, there was a transfer bonus from Chase which gave me 30% more points when I transferred my Chase points to Virgin Atlantic. Essentially, that means for every 1 Chase point, I would receive around 1.3 Virgin Atlantic points. This means I had to only send around 27,000 Chase points to receive the 35,000 Virgin points needed to book this award flight. That means that I had a conservative point redemption value of nearly 7 cents per point. And that's not too shabby at all. But again, if we use the actual inflated cash price at the time of $11,300 for this seat, then technically I actually had a 41 cent per point valuation. So essentially, I paid 27,000 Chase points and $135 in fees to fly business class from ANA from Honolulu to Tokyo, 9 hours. That's an amazing deal. Where if I had to pay cash for this exact flight, it would have cost me over $11,000, which by the way, YouTube ain't paying me that much yet, so yeah, that's a hard pass for me. Now that you know how I paid for the flight, I want to show you the process of actually taking your Chase points and turning it into a flight confirmation email in your inbox. This will be a breakdown from basically point A to point B. Obviously, the first step is to obtain 27,000 Chase points and own a Chase credit card that allows you to transfer Chase points to a travel transfer partner like Virgin Atlantic. Some cards that can do that are the Chase Sapphire Preferred, Chase Sapphire Reserve, and Chase Ink Business Preferred. And all of those cards have sign-up bonuses that will give you more than enough points to cover that flight. Then the next step is to go into your Chase accounts and transfer your Chase points to your Virgin Atlantic account. Again, relatively easy, and the transfer itself should only take about 5 minutes to show up in your actual Virgin Atlantic account. Actually, for this step, you could also wait until you find the ANA flight that you want first before sending over your points, because once you transfer your Chase points to Virgin points, you can't transfer them back. Then the hardest step in the process is to find the flights and award availability that works for you. The best way to look for ANA award availability is through the United website. It's because the United website is way easier to navigate than the ANA website. But also, the ANA award availability that shows up through United's website is basically what Virgin Atlantic sees on their end as well. This means if you see an ANA flight available on United, then you are most likely guaranteed to be able to book that flight by going through Virgin Atlantic and using your Virgin Atlantic miles. I only mention this because for some other airline partners or for some other award travel bookings, what you see on the website isn't always what is available for you to book using points. And remember earlier in this video when I said that the hardest part would be just to figure out when to go? That's because ANA generally releases award availability either 330 to 355 days in advance or about 7 days in advance, which means you're either booking an award flight for a year from now or a week from now. And if you find availability in between those two times, then consider yourself pretty lucky. This is why if you are a flexible traveler and could go on a trip on a short notice, then you will have a higher chance of finding award availability. Not many people can book an impromptu flight within a week of the booking day. Anyway, once you find an ANA award flight available on United's website, you're going to call Virgin Atlantic at the number shown here. This is the only way to book an award flight like this through them. There is no online portal or website to make this reservation. It has to be done over the phone. Thankfully, every time I've called them, which is around 10 times or so, the longest I had to wait before talking to a representative was probably like 15 to 20 minutes. These phone calls should not take very long, and the Virgin Atlantic representatives know what they're doing. They're really friendly and helpful, so you should have no problem there as well. Basically, you're just telling them that you're booking an ANA award flight. You say the airport that you are departing from and the airport that you want to arrive at, the date of travel, number of passengers, first, last, and middle name, and so on. They will then check to see if there's an award flight available, which again, if you saw it on United's website, then chances are that they will see it as well. Then once you confirm that the flight that they are seeing is the one that you want, you simply just go ahead and pay over the phone, and then you receive your flight confirmation email a few minutes after that. A good thing to know is that you could call them and double check the flight availability before transferring your credit card points. Then once you confirm that the flight is available, you go back, hop onto your computer, transfer your points, wait a few minutes, and then hop on the phone and call again to actually officially book the flight. Another good thing to know is that this only works on non-stop direct flights. You will not be able to book an ANA award flight if there is a layover somewhere, even if you see it on United's website. Now with all that information, you too can fly business class to Japan on ANA for free. And remember to go ahead and watch my video showing you exactly the flight that we talked about today. Have you ever seen a turtle fly? Well, you won't know what that looks like until you watch that video. See you there. Shoots.